Hello, beautiful friends, and welcome to another edition of the Biohacked Life podcast. Today, we're going to have some fun. We're going to talk about this topic of relationships, and I have an expert on with me today. This is what she does for a living. But first, guys, I want to thank our sponsor, Neo Life Physical Therapy, right here in D'Iberville. Guys, amazing full-service physical therapy clinic with Dr. Robby Ellis and an amazing staff. I've been actually working with the staff more than I'm working with Robby lately, and they've been totally trying to help me fix my broken down old football body, get rid of some old injuries. So guys, go check out Neo Life Physical Therapy for all your physical therapy needs. So let's get into this, guys. I am here with a relationship expert, relationship coach, and we're going to talk about this. We're going to answer some questions that I've had people been asking me since I announced this. So tell the audience who you are and what exactly your title is.
Well, title of relationships coach, but I am Kim Gaughf. I'm originally here from here on the coast, born in Pascagoula, raised in Gulfport. I now reside in D'Iberville. And yeah, I enjoy doing relationship coaching as well as individual coaching because what makes up great relationships? Great individuals. There 100%. We go.
All right. I love starting out the podcast this way. It's one of my favorite questions. And I start out every morning like this. So what is something today you're grateful for?
Being a guest on this podcast.
Awesome. Yes. I love that answer. Love that answer. All right. My curveball question.
Uh-oh.
If you had to have a walkout song for life,
oh gosh,
what would it be?
It makes me want to do that. I'm Every Woman.
Yes. I love it. I love that answer. So it's like an empowering song.
Absolutely.
It's definitely get you going.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get into this. A relationship coach is not something you hear about every day. So what got you into coaching? Why did you start doing relationship coaching?
Because I spent my 20s and my early 30s as the hot mess half of every relationship I was in. If there was a way to do it wrong, I had mastered doing it wrong. So when I finally got it right, it then became my mission to help ladies, especially because we goof it up more than we like to admit. But I wanted to help ladies find the right way and figure out what works.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And coming from the coaching world too, I'm not a relationship coach by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, I'm 34 years old, never been married. So I've definitely had my fair share of fun relationships, crazy relationships, all the above. But it's always a topic with every single person I work with.
Sure.
Whether it's a family relationship, friend relationship, intimate relationship, we all deal with relationships on a daily basis. And one of the biggest reasons I want to talk about on the show today is if you look at the blue zones around the world, which are the areas around the world that have the longest lifespan.
Okay.
Relationships is the number one key factor they all have in common. So the quality of your relationships directly affect how long you live.
I get that. I totally get that.
So part of living the biohacked life is, of course, living a long quality of life. Mm-hmm. So we're going to talk about relationships today.
Yeah.
Let's start here. Before someone enters into any kind of relationship, what do they first need to do?
For me, the very basic foundational thing that you've got to do is know who you are. You've got to have a clear definition of what your values are. What are the morals that you live by? What are the things, the boundaries, if you will, that govern your life? Because if you don't know those things, how can you expect someone else to interact with you and come into your life and engage with you on any kind of level if they don't know the rules of engagement?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in order to play the game, so to say, you have to know what rules you're playing by.
That's right.
I find that, yes, exactly what you said to be so true. From my coaching background, when I am talking to people about their quote-unquote failed relationships, a lot of times it's because they don't know who they are getting in that relationship. Mm-hmm. And they just go from one relationship to the next. without ever knowing who they are, what makes them tick, what they even want out of a relationship.
Right.
How do you go into a relationship when you don't even know what you want?
Well, and women, women are going to not like me for this one, but we are, I don't know, we have a tendency to try to mold ourselves to what we think that man would want. You know, we pick a man out of a crowd and say, "Oh, I want that one. So therefore I'm going to be whatever it is he wants me to be."
Right.
And it sounds so cliche, but we, whether consciously or unconsciously, we just go into it almost like a blank canvas, if you will, and begin to paint ourselves to match what we think he wants versus, hey, here's who I am. And if we're compatible, this would be really nice.
Right.
Yeah.
And men do that too.
Okay, good.
Men 100% do that. Like,
Good.
I know in one of my past relationships, literally every decision I made was according to what do I think is going to make her happy. Instead of, hey, let me just present my best self.
Right.
And if she doesn't like it, she doesn't like it. But no, men do that too. Men, I find so many times, of course, when they don't know who they are and they enter a relationship, they get in there and then they derive their happiness from the spouse's happiness a lot. So they're bending their decisions around what's going to make the other person happy. Or they're so narcissistic, self-serving that they're making decisions based on that. And there's no like grounding of why you're making the decisions in a relationship. Like, why are you doing that? Is it just to, I had this discussion last night. I'm glad we brought this up.
Yeah.
Sometimes people get in relationships just because it feels good to feel good. It feels good just to be wanted.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
it could be like a relationship that totally is not good for you, but the other person wants you and they like accept you for who you think you are, and you're in that relationship just because you're wanted. And then you start bending over backwards to try to please that person.
Yep.
And you get like 6 months down the road, you're like, what the hell just happened? So yeah, that's totally a big one. And you're right. Both sexes, they do that.
And it works fine for a while.
It does.
You know, let's just call it 6 months. You know, for 6 months, you're both bending over backwards, trying to do what you think the other one wants you to do to make it happy and you know, sunshine and rainbows. But there will come a time when you can't continue to be someone that you are not authentically. Right. And so that's when the resentment begins to build, you know, because then they come to expect this persona that you've put out there for so long that they assumed was who you were, but it's not. And now you're tired of doing it. And so now you're resentful because you're expected to do that thing that you were already doing that you really didn't want to do.
100%.
Yeah. And that's when it starts.
I call it the sales pitch.
Yes. Yeah. Your elevator speech is no longer any good.
Right.
Yeah.
Actually, I was hanging out with a girl, and I told her from like day one, I'm like, look, my number one rule is like no sales pitches.
Yeah.
Like, I just want the real version. And, you know, if I decide I like the real version, we'll go ahead. If I decide I don't like it. But don't give me the sales pitch. Like, I don't want you just trying to make me happy. I don't want you just, you know, being someone you're not. Because I used to do that.
Yeah.
I used to get into a relationship and give this amazing sales pitch of somebody I wasn't. And exactly what you just said is true. You can't fake it forever.
No.
You can't be someone you're not forever. And it's so funny. Like, you know, a lot of what I see on social media is people complaining about just that.
Yeah.
Like the sales pitch. And I thought this person was this, but they really turned out to be this. Why do you think people do that?
You know, they're trying to do or be, I don't know, the everybody or the somebody for everybody. You know, they so are afraid of rejection. You know, they so want to be, you know, that's why online dating, I think, has its, because of course you can put up that pretty picture.
Right.
And you can type any description you want to type, but there comes a time when you got to show up as that person that you said you are. And again, if it's a fake persona, how long can you fake it?
Yeah.
You know, and it never, not being your authentic self will never work.
I hate online dating. I'm going to throw that out there.
Yeah.
I hate it. I guess for me, like, I'm looking for real and authentic. And how the hell do you know that through a text message?
That's right.
I can't, I'm sitting here right now, we're having a conversation, I can look you in the eye, I can tell by your body language, it's real, it's natural.
Yeah.
You can't tell that through a text message.
No.
And like, okay, you're swiping, like I hate the whole concept of it. I don't like it. And another thing too, I'm not good at carrying on conversations through text messages like that. I don't know what it is. It's just something about it just like does not hold my attention. So
Well, there's not much sincerity in, because you don't get the benefit of tone or voice inflection, or especially if you're first getting to know someone, you don't
Right.
know if they're sarcastic or if that, I
Yeah.
mean, you don't know how to take it. So ideally that's not the best way to to start anything.
no.
Yeah, and imagine, it's the norm now, I would say, for
It is,
the
100%.
20-somethings and the 30-somethings, but I deal a lot with the 40 and 50 and 60-somethings who have been married, had kids, even grandkids maybe, have gone through a divorce and are back out there. Can you imagine the culture shock they're facing?
Yeah.
Because when they were dating,
Do they use online dating?
people used to knock on the door and come ask Dad if they could take
The courting
you
process.
know, yes. And the courting process is almost dead.
It is. So do those kind of clients, do they use online dating? Like how does that work?
They don't want to, but
Right.
they're almost forced to because
Yeah.
it's the norm now.
It is the norm.
But they're still looking for, they might, go to the, match.com to get the lead, if you will.
Right.
But they're the ones that the 50-somethings are the ones that are going to say, okay, John, you look to be a nice guy. Come meet me for a coffee.
Right.
They want that personal interaction and the benefit of all of those things that you just described, because that's how they get to know people, not through clicks and, swipes and all of those. Yeah.
Yeah. All that stuff.
Right.
All right. Here's just a question that I want the answer to, in your opinion.
Okay.
Why in our culture, especially for the younger generations, are we more and it's male and female both, even though they both say it's not, it's both.
Okay.
Why are both sides right now looking for the hookup over a long-term relationship?
We've just turned into this, I guess, through technology and all the other ways we benefit from just instant gratification. We don't wait for anything anymore. We don't wait for food to cook. We hardly wait for a red light to change anymore because you can go right on red.
Right.
I mean, there's really nothing we wait for anymore. So to have to wait out the process of getting to know someone, to really deep dive into learning about that person or sharing the deepest parts of you, when, hey, can't we just get down to the business we came here to do?
Do that. They're having trouble doing the actual work that it takes to make a
Yeah.
real relationship.
Our attention spans are about that long now.
It is.
Yeah,
It is. Like if it doesn't happen right now, then what are we doing here?
that's right.
I know, like I've actually had that like turn on me a couple times where I've had women that I've hung out with, they would literally get mad at me if I didn't sleep with them on the first date. And to me, it's like I'm mind blown. Like, why is that something you're getting mad at?
It bruises the ego.
Exactly.
Bruises the ego because,
does.
again, take it back to the beginning. We ladies are putting on a big show, and I'm going to exclude myself from that now because I am successfully married. But that's a big show. They spend a lot of time investing in that appearance,
Right.
in that profile photo, and all of whatever has led up to that final meeting, and they're ready for their payoff. Hey, I'm here, and you look just as sexy as you did in your photo, and how do I look? So we're going to do this thing or not?
Yeah.
They totally lose sight of, wait a minute, I think I said I wanted a relationship in my profile, didn't I? I said I was
Yeah.
looking to settle down. Uh-oh. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think too we've really lost touch with true fulfillment.
Yeah.
Like we're looking to put band-aids on problems
Yes.
instead of actually I notice with my clients, all my clients are so quick to get immediate gratification, like you said, to fill a void.
Yeah.
Instead of addressing the void so you can understand what, instead of hitting that quick fix what actual fulfillment feels like.
Yes.
And I think that's a huge problem with people right now, especially like what I've noticed in the dating world out there is everyone's looking to just fill voids.
Well, and I think there has been a big turn from what I can remember when I was in my 20s, and my turn took place around 36, 37. But, when you're young, I don't know that there's this big push for self-help, because in your
Right.
20s, you think you know it all.
Oh, absolutely.
So you've finally gotten your independence, and all these things that you think you can now apply, and you're going through that trial and error, but you still think you're smarter than the average bear. And it's not until you get through that and get to a place where you regroup and say, wait a minute, I thought I was smarter than this, and this isn't quite turning out like I thought.
Why do I keep doing the same dumb thing over and over? Why do I keep attracting the same type of man, or why do I keep attracting the same type of woman?
Well, but even worse, it not many will take that on themselves. Why does the same stinky man keep coming for me?
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Right. Why do these circumstances follow me?
That's what you see. They always post on social media.
That's right.
Why do I keep attracting the a-holes?
That's right. Yeah, jerks, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I think I posted something about a year ago on social media. I was like, if all your relationships stink, maybe you're the common denominator there.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it takes a big, a bit kind of in the throat, and I think it doesn't happen for so many because you've got to be at a place mentally and emotionally where you can swallow that pill,
Right.
and be ready to do the work.
Yeah, it definitely. Because I know I've been through that work process. It's a process for sure. It's not a. There is no quick fix when it comes to like growth and self-awareness and all that. So yeah, that's been one of my biggest pet peeves in my coaching and what I'm seeing out there with current state of relationships is just people are just filling voids.
Yeah.
And they're just looking for that quick term fix, that drug hit, and they're addicted to it.
That's right.
And as soon as they don't get it, something's wrong. And it's not wrong with them. It's wrong
Of
with
course not.
everyone else,
That's
like
right.
you just said.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun world out there. All right. So what are like the three most common mistakes you see like in relationships?
Probably the biggest thing that I talk about is just a lack of boundaries. People confuse boundaries with ultimatums.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They think a boundary means you're going to do this or else.
Right.
And I tell folks it's the complete opposite. A boundary is something that you decide about yourself. Mm-hmm. I don't want to whatever. And an ultimatum is you're not going to do such and such in order to participate in my life.
Right.
Boundaries are about me. Ultimatums are about you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the first misconceptions that I try to let people know. Boundaries are actually very healthy. Ultimatums are a dead-end street.
Yeah.
Because you'll never control another person's behavior as much as you try. Yeah. So a lack of boundaries is big.
How do you set boundaries in a relationship? Like, how do you go about actually doing that? Because I know like that's something people need to do.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I feel like they're too fearful to do that.
Well, because they think it's a stand on the mountaintops and yell at the top of your lungs type of announcement. Boundaries are very subtle. Mm-hmm. If a man walked up to me in a bar and was, I didn't even know his name, didn't know him from Adam, and he's got his arm around me and he's, nudging me and he's touching me, my boundary is going to be that I'm going to say, "Excuse me, sir," and I'm going to get up and I'm going to go to the other end of the bar.
Right.
That's an unspoken boundary.
Correct.
I have now let him know in a silent way
That's not okay.
that's not okay. And off I go. And should he follow me, I'll do it again. Should he follow me, I'll leave. But that's, I'll call it number 2, personal responsibility. Take control of the things you can take control of.
Right.
If you don't like a situation that you're in, change it.
Do something about it. Don't just complain about it.
Yeah. So boundaries, it's either a spoken rule that you talk about, or it's just the way that you carry yourself, or the company that you keep, or those are the biggest things. People will pick up on your boundaries quickly.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be something that you hand them a contract and say, well, these are the rules that I live by in my life. As you go through that process of getting to know someone, they will learn these things about you, but you have to be clear on what they are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I find is the biggest, I think personally for me, the biggest problem that I've seen in most relationships is communication.
Yeah.
And I think like people have a real hard time with honest, vulnerable communication. Mm-hmm. Why do you think that is?
Scared of rejection. If I say the wrong thing, is that going to be what makes you, oh, well, that I can't do that, got to go. Worried of the reaction that we'll get, or being pushed away, or being questioned or held to it. Or do we believe in it strongly enough that, if someone pushes, do we back off and, oh, well, never mind, then don't worry about it.
Mm-hmm.
Or do we say, well, I'm sorry, but I feel very strongly about that, and that's something that I want to hold to.
Right.
It takes a lot of oomph to be able to say that. And again, it goes all the way back to, you got to know who you are.
Right.
Yeah.
And it takes, like, it does take a certain level of confidence to, I always say, like, the strongest people I see are the ones that can stand confident in their vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Like, it takes a lot of strength to be able to do that. So, like, in a relationship, I find that people have a hard time. Of course, most people cannot be vulnerable. Like, that's just something they're not willing to do, which we're going to talk about. But they have a hard time speaking their truth because they're so scared of loss.
Yeah.
Is it really loss? I mean, I think it's loss too if you're in a relationship and you're not being honest. I think that's a huge loss in itself.
Fair. Yeah.
But just having that vulnerable communication where, hey, this is what I like. This is what I don't like. Mm-hmm. Hey, you did that. It hurt my feelings. Mm-hmm. And what I see a lot of people do is their spouse or a partner or whatever will hurt them, and they'll just let it ride for a couple weeks, and then something little will happen, and here comes the eruption. Yeah. We let things like build. I used to be really bad at that. I used to, like, as soon as something bad would happen to me, I would just swallow it and keep going, and enough little things would happen, I would just go off the deep end. Mm-hmm. I used to just compartmentalize everything. Mm-hmm. Now it's like, no, I don't like the fact you did that. Like, that's not cool. I have to speak up at the very front end because, call it age, call it whatever, but like, I'm at the point in my life now where I know what I want. Mm-hmm. I know exactly what direction I'm going in, and if the direction I'm going in, whatever you did doesn't align with that, then I'm going to tell you. Mm-hmm. Because if it's not something you're willing to address or do anything about, then we probably shouldn't be together. Like, it's no hard feelings.
Sure.
Like, maybe we're not compatible.
Well, I shared on social media a couple of weeks back. I have a couple that I'm coaching, and it's so funny because they think they're fighting about laundry and dishes and the yard work and the sock on the floor. It's not about that stuff.
Right.
It's because you don't feel heard. It's because you're allowing his sock in the middle of the floor to make you feel as though he doesn't love you or doesn't appreciate you, when all it really means is he dropped his sock on the floor and it just wasn't that big a deal to pick it up.
Yeah.
He just kept moving. It doesn't mean he doesn't love you. It just means he kept moving. And relationships will never break up over dirty dishes, unfolded laundry. You know what I mean? It's just like you said, the things behind it, the things that we stifle and then we blow over a sock on the floor.
Right.
If you can't say to someone, hey, look, you probably don't mean a thing by it, but can I tell you, when I see that sock on the floor, I work so hard to keep this place clean. I don't ask you to do a whole lot of stuff. And when I see the sock on the floor, it's just like a punch in the face that you didn't take 2 seconds to pick it up. And he would probably go, oh my God, please don't take it that way, because I don't mean it that way at all. I was
me dropping the sock was not a personal attack on you.
That's right. To which she would say, okay, well, I feel so much better about that. And he would say, okay, good. Well, I've got to go mow the lawn because the sun's going down. And if I don't mow the lawn, you're going to be upset. So off I go.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you got to talk about it, because if you assume that's what it meant and he assumes this, you've got to keep the lines of communication open. But on the flip side, we have to know in a relationship that it's safe to talk.
Right.
You've got to have that space, that open, because if every time I bring up something to you, I'm not going to come and talk to you. Right. So you've got to make sure that it's a comfortable space to speak in.
You got to allow the other person to be vulnerable.
That's right.
If every time they're vulnerable, you attack them, then hey, they're going to stop being vulnerable. Mm-hmm. That's just human nature.
Yeah.
All right. So one of the topics that I want to cover is courtship. Is getting into a relationship, and chivalry and all those topics, because we're at a completely different age of men and women and sexual roles, and just the way that men view women and women view men, and gender equality. Like, it's just a completely different world now than it was in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. Where do you see that, like, with the people you work with and what you see in the world? Like, how do you see it playing out right now?
Well, I think it's unfortunate. I think what started, as the women's lib movement and our search for equality in the workplace, I think it's backfired on us at home. I think it's backfired on us in our personal relationships, because I was one. I would have told you at the ripe old age of 35, I don't need a man. And it was the furthest thing from the truth.
Right.
But it was the right thing to say, because it's what was expected. I was a very successful career woman, could take care of myself, had never been married, had my own home. I could do everything for myself. But at night I would cry myself to sleep because I was there all by myself.
Right.
So all those ladies who are out there saying, I don't need a man, that might be true. You might not need a man to pay your bills or do any of those other things for you. But if you desire a man, if you want a companion, if you don't want to spend the rest of your life by yourself, then you have to be vulnerable enough to say so. Mm-hmm. And save that women lib, stuff for the office, for the workplace, where you do maybe need that little push to stand up for yourself,
step up a little bit.
And feel equal to your male counterparts who are doing the same job as you. And
right.
You want that respect. But at home, allow a man to be a man. I'm very traditional, and that worked out great for me because I married a man 15 years older than I am. But it fell perfectly into how I feel about the male role in the home. Mm-hmm. My husband is the leader of our home. Now, he'll tell you different because he's such a wonderful person. He will tell you he is the co-leader of our home. And that's probably very close to the truth because we make a lot of our decisions together. Mm-hmm. But before I learned all that stuff and before I started to get it right, I was sabotaging myself.
Yeah.
Because even though in my heart all I ever longed for was that partner, I was putting up this wall and putting up this persona that I don't need a man. So you know what? The universe said, oh, she don't need no man. Keep moving. Go to that next girl over there that needs a man.
It reciprocated the energy you were putting out.
That's absolutely right. And so I went without for a long time.
And the way I look at it is just that as far as energy. Mm-hmm. So a man naturally gives off a masculine energy, mm-hmm. and a woman gives off a feminine energy. Mm-hmm. The problem to me comes in when the woman raises in her masculine energy. Mm-hmm. And so you've got two competing masculine energies in the home. Well, let's call a spade a spade. The woman has something the man wants.
Right.
And if she's constantly in this masculine energy, he's going to naturally default to a more feminine energy to balance it out.
Okay.
Because he wants that balance because he wants what she has.
Yeah.
And then about 6 months to a year down the road, she's going to start complaining about his lack of masculinity.
That's right.
When she never allowed him space to be masculine, because let's be real, if you love someone, you don't want to fight with them all the damn time.
No.
And if you're both living in this masculine space, you're going to be fighting like crazy because you're both trying to be this alpha male.
That's huge.
And you want this balance there.
That's right.
Like, it's okay. Like, there's some things, like if I'm in a relationship, I want a woman to step up and take a more masculine role. Like planning. I'm not a planner. I'm not organized. I'm not a planner. I don't do details. I don't do any of that kind of stuff. So if she wants to take the alpha in that role, please, please just point me in the right direction. I'm willing to fully accept that. Like balancing a checkbook. I don't like doing that kind of stuff. Please run with that.
Yeah.
But it's that balance. it's that balance of energies. And I find that with a lot of the men that I coach, and even some of the women I've coached, I've had to explain that to them. And once they realize that by being in that feminine energy, it actually gives them more power than being
That's right.
in the masculine energy.
Yeah.
She's like, once I embraced my feminine energy, I realized my true power, and it wasn't so damn exhausting all the time either. But like my male clients, because of this, movement in America today, they're trying to be like this softer version of themselves, this more sensitive male. Which, look, guys, you should have empathy and practice all these things, but you shouldn't completely revert to your feminine energy. Like, you should have that balance. But these guys, these masculine guys outside of their relationship, were like completely masculine men. But as soon as they slid in that relationship with a female, they immediately reverted back to their feminine energy because they thought that's what would make their woman happy. And you would see them just become these like little lush dogs.
Oh.
You know exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm just like watching them like, bro, like, that's not even you.
Yeah.
Like, you've completely lost yourself, and you wonder why you're not happy.
Well, I coached a couple, same thing. And granted, he was physically not in the space 4 days at a time. He worked offshore. And when he would come home, he didn't know where he fit in.
Right.
Because, and to her, pat her on the back for standing up and standing in that space for him when he was away. She ran the household and she took care of their child. But to an extreme that she didn't know how to turn that back off and back it down. So when he came home, he was kind of lost, and he didn't step into that male role because she had it covered. So he didn't really know where he fit in, and that caused some tension. Here she wanted him. Well, he doesn't do anything when he comes in. He's just, detached from us and this and that. Well, did you save him any space? It's perfectly fine that you step up, and I'm sure he appreciates in his absence that you step up and he can go off to work and doesn't have to worry about all these things. But when he comes home, you get to take a deep breath, and he gets to come home and be the dad and the husband, and you know what I mean, and step in and re-own that for the time that he's home. And it took them to really see it in that light to understand what was happening, because they were really confused. She thought, well, I'm doing a good job. And he thought, who am I?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and men have a hard time doing that just because of what they've been told by society right now.
Yeah.
I mean, society is telling men to stop being men. Be this gender neutral, whatever you want to call it, asexual human being.
Sure.
They're completely like, taking away men's testosterone left and right. And yeah, I agree. Like, you should have balance in your energies as a man. But you're not allowing, like, when you show up presently to a woman, she immediately knows, like, if you're in this feminine energy.
Yeah.
And what I find is the only women that will accept that is the ones that have been hurt by too much masculine energy in the past.
Ooh.
They're used to they've had the hyper male in the past, and they're like, okay, I can't have it anymore. I want the uber sensitive guy.
Oh God.
And they find this great best friend in an uber sensitive guy.
Yes.
But then there's no sexual attraction there.
Right.
So you have a best friend and a roommate.
He's
Congratulations.
immediately friend zoned.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh man, yeah. Please know what you want. So when it comes to courtship and chivalry being dead, here's just a random question I have for you. What's your opinion on opening car doors?
I absolutely love it. And it was one of the things on the first date that my husband ever took me on that wowed me. He picked me up for lunch at my job, and as we were walking out, he immediately walked over and opened the car door, and I thought, oh, this is so wonderful, but I learned something from him.
Okay.
And he was quick to school me. When he came around and got in the car, and I told him, I said, thank you for opening the door. And he said, well, you know what the reciprocal of that is? And I said, no.
This is from a movie, and I love it.
Well, and he told me, he said, you would reach over here and unlatch my door so that it's ajar as I come back around. And oh, okay. And so I did that. That became when he would do that for me, then I would do that for him. And but then he went and got a big old truck after we got married, and so now I can't lean over and open the
Yeah.
door. But yeah, so I mean, he taught me. Marrying a man 15 years my elder was just a godsend for me, because it was all those things that, as I was a little girl, and you see, you watch movies and you see a true courtship and you see how all of these things should happen. Because he was old school, he did all those things.
Right.
And so I tell ladies, there has to be an expectation. If you walk up to a door and immediately open it with your man standing right there, you never give him a chance to open the door for you, well, he's not going to.
But should she expect it?
Sure.
Okay. So the reason I ask is, like, I lived in LA for a while.
Okay.
I would open doors for women, just like random women, and they wouldn't like have zero clue how to respond to that.
Do you think is that geography though? Is that big city? Is that?
I think some of it is geography. Like, for instance, I was in Aspen last month, and I was in ski school getting ski instruction because I'm, not good at skiing and have bad knees. Long story. But one of the girls in my ski school with me was from New York.
Okay.
And I was walking in front of her. I opened the door for her, and she literally stood there like a deer in headlights. She was like, like she just stood there. I was like, no, go ahead. She goes, oh, okay. And I'm like, so I absolutely like believe in holding doors open for women. The car door is kind of like, I'm on the fence about the car door. I'm not going to lie. Like so the way I look at it is like the old days when a woman was wearing like this huge bouffant dress and it took her 2 hands to load her dress in the car. Absolutely, I'm going to open the door 100% then. But like when we're just like bouncing around town, going from like here to there and there, it gets a little crazy to open the car door every single time. To me, that's just the way I view it. Like a door to a building, absolutely. We're both going to the same door. I'm going to hold that door for you open every single time. Car door, I'm like maybe like 25%. Like if you have something in your hands, I absolutely open that door for you. If your hands
and in fairness and full disclosure, after almost 10 years of marriage, he doesn't do it every time. Mm-hmm. But like this week, you don't see it on me now, but I am injured and I've been wearing a leg boot this week. So he's had to help me in and out of the car for that. Usually if we're leaving the house on a date, for dinner or something like that, he definitely does that. But getting out at the grocery store and stuff like that, maybe not so much.
Yeah. That was just an interesting topic I just wanted to bring up. So when it comes to expectations, let's talk about expectations in a relationship. Right. Because I have my own like story with this I want to talk about, but talk about expectations in a relationship. Because I've heard both sides of it.
Everybody brings their own baggage. And inside that baggage are your expectations, because it's generally the stuff that somebody else did to you that you never want to happen again.
Right.
The expectations of the new relationship are the opposite of that.
Exactly.
So they're going to be different for everybody. But unfortunately, we don't communicate them often enough. Mm-hmm. You may have this laundry list in your brain of what you're looking for, what you need. But does it ever become a topic of negotiation with your person?
So you're saying, so are you saying to communicate that? Should you communicate your expectations?
That's a little too broad. What do you mean?
Like what? So you're saying there's certain expectations to communicate and certain ones not to?
Yes and no. I mean, I think you cover ground as you get to it. Mm-hmm. At the how do I want to say it? Like on the first date, if you're out at dinner or whatever, I think that's when you're laying the groundwork for the next date.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if at the end of that night, the bill comes and he looks at you and you look at him, sister, you better hold your tongue. Don't you say a word. And you sit there and you just, and until it comes down. That's how you set boundaries. And if it comes down to, he says, well, here you go. Well, I guess there won't be a second date.
Right.
So I mean, you communicate them either, verbally, silently, but I think it's just this, it's either a spoken or unspoken communication, one or the other, because it's constant. You're constantly giving one another feedback on what's working and what's not.
Yeah, absolutely. You should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It should be honest feedback.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because my kind of duality I live in with expectations in a relationship is like I have expectations on how I want to be treated. I have expectations on like the standards that I want in a relationship.
Okay.
But the duality on the flip side of that is I also want to go into a potential relationship not expecting anything. Like, don't expect it to be a certain way. Don't expect her to do this, that, and the other for me just because I'm expecting it. I think for me and the way I view it is I'm going to show up in my like best authentic self.
Okay.
And if I show up in my best authentic self, the only thing I expect is the other person to do the same. And if she does that, then that's really all I expect from her is to just show up with who she wants me to see.
Okay.
And then after that, I get the option to make a decision. Is this a person that I could see myself spending time with? Mm-hmm. But I've really tried to remove a lot of expectation from relationships, because when you look at the psychology behind it, really expectations are the number one cause of depression. When you expect something to be one way and then it's not.
Yeah.
Then you immediately, oh man, it didn't work out. It didn't happen. So I try to remove that as much as possible. And I find that I'm able to just be more in a state of gratitude and happiness.
Yeah.
And two, it's because I know my bright lines. I know my cutoff points in a relationship where okay, if this happens, I know I'm walking the other direction. But I've really, I have my expectations and my standards of what I will and won't accept. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I don't go into a relationship expecting anything out of the other person.
I guess for me, maybe I would replace expectation with almost an anticipation. Mm-hmm. How am I feeling about it? What's the momentum? Or is there a momentum building?
Yeah.
Is there, am I excited or am I anxious? Because your gut tells you so much. So,
it does.
So I guess not from an expectation standpoint of are they going to rise to the challenge type thing, but just almost am I allowing myself to go into it with an open mind and anticipate that this series of events or these things, could happen.
Right.
Yeah.
You brought up a word that I want to ask you for a second. Do you believe people have types, or is it just that they're steering clear of their past traumas?
Ooh. I wish they'd steer clear. No, I don't. I don't want them to steer clear of their past traumas because then I'd be out of work. The fact that people go for what they know generally, because if you've not healed an old trauma, it's what comes natural.
It does. It's your comfort zone.
And it's what feels comfortable, and you'll go right back to it every
Even if
time.
it's terrible for you,
that's right.
It still feels comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be in a new set of clothes with a different hairdo, and it might have a beard this time, but it's going to be the same thing because it's what you know, and it's what you're drawn to. Mm-hmm. So do you have a type? You probably have a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've probably got a personality, a trait, characteristic, whatever it is that you habitually go for. But if you were to open the book of all my past relationships, it's a rainbow and a completely, like I said, my husband's 15 years older than me. And before him, I dated people all, closer to my age. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I've dated all over the spectrum, but still, because I've been single for so long, people always ask me, "Well, what's your type?"
Yeah.
And my answer, to the best of my knowledge, is I don't have a type. It's more chemistry. Like
Yeah.
blonde, brunette, red. It doesn't matter. Tall, short. I've dated 6'2". I've dated 5 foot flat.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter. Like it's about, for me, it's about that chemistry. And my number one rule when it comes to looking for a partner, looking for a girl that I want to date, is I want a best friend who I'm extremely physically attracted to. I want a best friend that I can't keep my hands off. Really is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
So my next question is, and I love this topic because I have a very strong opinion on it. How important is physical attraction in a relationship?
People there's people all over it. I always say I think it's very important in the beginning of a relationship, especially if you're talking at the beginning of your life / relationship, because when people get together, in their 20s and their 30s, and they're looking to be married for the first time and they want to have children, well, if you're going to be physical with someone, you're going to hope that's someone that you like and that you're attracted to,
Right.
because that's going to be a big part of your life. I think as you get older and your sexual drive is not as strong as it is in your 20s or your 30s, and you're looking for companionship that may or may not include, having children, making children, I think it's still in the list, but it may not be at the top of the list, because you begin looking for compatibility on different levels. Is this somebody that will enjoy traveling with me? Is this somebody that I'm meeting as I near retirement age? So do they like to do the same kinds of things that I will enjoy doing for 8 hours a day? What are the hobbies and interests that we like? What are the things outside the bedroom that are going to keep me connected to this person,
Right.
when the bedroom is no longer at the top of the list?
Okay. Yeah, I guess like I've only ever looked at it from, like a 20 to 40-year-old. Because like when I hear people say, especially like my age, when they say, looks aren't that important, I'm just like, well, yeah, you're right. They're not for a good friend. They're not for somebody that you want to go and have a drink with and just hang out with. But if you're talking about an actual relationship, an intimate relationship,
That's right.
it's pretty damn important.
Yes.
I heard a lady say the other day that I absolutely fell in love with, and I totally agree. And she's like, most people think it's a 100% equation of what your mind, heart, and sexually, like what you want in those three categories.
Yeah.
Most people think it's a 100% equation, like 33% equally divided.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, it should be a 300% equation.
Yeah.
It should be 100% of
That's
all
right.
three categories is what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's very true, because I've been on dates with absolute gorgeous girls that I have not found attractive at all because they didn't meet the other two areas.
Yeah.
Or I've been on dates with, girls that aren't supermodels, but like I'm incredibly attracted to them because of how much they're speaking to my mind and my heart.
Yeah.
And that's why I always say I don't have a type. I have chemistry, because it has to speak to all three areas, in order for me to have that level of chemistry that I'm looking for in a relationship.
Yeah.
Because I have lots of women in my life that are just friends of mine, and they'll never be more than just friends.
Yeah.
And I'll see a woman sometimes where I'm like, holy moly, she's attractive, like wow. But then I'll go have a conversation with her, and I'm like, congratulations on your pretty face. I'm gonna go that direction now. So yeah, like to me, it's got to be that balance between the three. So when I hear like, especially like, I think it's a common theme for women to say that looks aren't as important, and I honestly believe that's something that men have trained them to say, because men want to be unattractive and still get the hot women.
Well, and women, we're taught, and we grow to learn, the more we get to know our men, that men are visually stimulated.
Right.
That's just the thing. If they weren't, there'd be no fake boobs and there'd be no liposuction and butt implants and whatever there is, if it weren't about that, being stimulated by what you see. So I think you have to give that to the men. Women, for me, I hit a place in my life, like I said, I married for the first time at 38. So I was at a very different place. And, fortunately for me, the man who captured my heart first. He was pretty easy on the eyes too, but he brought all those things to my heart, that I was longing for.
Right.
And so then everything else was just lagniappe.
Right.
But I think if you're looking for that long-term relationship, you're going to, marry that person, you find them beautiful and attractive and there's the chemistry. Well, when you get to be 70, or 75, when they don't look the same anymore, of course, you probably will always see them in that way.
Yeah.
But when all the physical starts to go downhill, well, there's still got to be something that ties you together.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I agree. I guess I go back to, so I'm going to go ahead and throw this out on air.
Uh-oh.
My grandfather was in his 70s, and he used to always joke about how much he loved the little blue pill.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the way he was. And I'm like, God, that's what I want. I want
And I'm sure, yeah.
Yeah, I want to still feel that way when
Yeah.
I'm 75 years old.
Yeah.
Like, even though my body physically doesn't work the same, I still want to be able to do that. So I want that.
But that's a spirit thing as much as a physical.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, the whole reason you have the physical relationship with someone is supposed to be because it fills your spirit.
Yeah.
And it feels like your emotions, and you get all that out of it. And so much of the world now is just, hey, I'm going to go have sex because it feels good for 5 minutes, and then as soon as it's over with, you feel like crap again. I see so much of that right now. I'm just like, oh,
Yeah.
really? What was the point in that? It's just like having a hangover when you're drunk. Yeah, you felt great while you were drinking, but now you're dealing with the hangover. Now you're dealing with the walk of shame. Now you're dealing with, oh, well, he left me. He didn't hang around. Well, no crap.
So you just go drink again.
Yes. You just
Yeah.
go drink again. You just
Yeah.
go hair lip a dog. Go have another drink.
Go swipe again. There'll be another one. Go swipe.
Yeah.
Swipe.
I heard a great quote about a month ago. Why would a man buy the cow if he could just have a steak?
Okay. Yeah.
I was like, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why would a man invest in a cow when he can just go have the
Just
steak?
go have a steak.
I was like, that's true. I mean, you literally, in a relationship, you want to have to buy the cow.
Yeah.
Like, that's the whole point. Because for me, I guess it's there's to reach like the next level of true happiness. Like, there is another level of happiness you reach in your life when you're in a really good relationship.
Yes.
Like, people, like, as happy as I am right now, and as much work as I've done to reach this authentic level of happiness in my life, I know that it's only right here, and it could be so much more if I was like deeply in love with my soulmate. And like, that's what I want. So right now, I'm just like, you know what? I don't want to put Band-Aids on thing right now. I don't want to like just look for that temporary shot of happiness.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that shot of Patron to get me through. Like, I'm looking for the damn tequila farm. That's what I want. So okay, we're definitely approaching an hour here. Let's talk about like just 3 keys to a good relationship.
Oh gosh. I mean, boundaries. I can't say it enough. You've got to have healthy boundaries. Communication. You can't be afraid to talk to. If you can't talk to your person,
Right.
who can you talk to? You don't want to be telling your best friend, and by that I mean my best girlfriend, the things I should be saying to my mate.
Right.
So you've got to be able to communicate. Mutual respect.
Yeah.
You've got to respect the person that you're sharing that space with, and then they've got to give it right back to you. It's not all sunshine, daisies, and rainbows. You're going to have those moments where you disagree. But just like I tell my couples all the time, it's not me versus you. it's us versus the issue.
Right.
You know, you can't make your partner the enemy. You know, it's team love against whatever the issue of the moment is, and you tackle it together to win out over said issue, so you can keep going. Not this competition of I'm right, you're wrong, because when one wins, you know what, the other one loses. I don't want my husband to lose.
Right.
I don't want to win and make him a loser, you know.
Right.
So those three things: boundaries, communication, and a mutual level of respect.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. There's so many people, like, I used to hate when people say, oh, you know what, arguing is good and then make-up sex is great. I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. I don't totally agree with that. Like, I don't want to argue.
That's right.
I'd rather be in a place of, like, love and happiness.
Yep.
To have sex.
That's
versus
right.
a place of, oh, you know what, you pissed me off, so I want to take it out on you now. Right. That's crazy to me. But yeah, like, I've never understood, I guess me being just so, like, programmed the way I am, and I know, like, this is just, like, how people communicate, and it's crazy, but I see a problem and I want to fix the problem.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to, like, talk about it. I just want to, like, okay, there's a fire, let's put water on the fire. And I know, like, some people, like, no, like, a lot of women don't want water on their fire. They just want to tell you about the fire. They just want to tell you about all the colors and how it started and where it's going to go from here. They don't necessarily need water in their fire at that moment.
That's right.
I heard one relationship expert say, like, he goes to, when his wife brings him a problem now, she literally, before she addresses the problem, has to tell him if this is just a talk about it problem or if she actually needs a solution. I was like, that's freaking brilliant. But it's that level of communication that's
right.
so important in a relationship. Because, like, there's times where people just want to vent.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to get this off my chest. I don't need a solution. I don't need your 5-step bullet points of how I address this. I just need to get this off my chest. Could you just listen for a minute? And, like, being able to say, like, hey, can I just vent for a minute? Cool, thanks. Blah.
Well, I'm laughing at this because this happens all the time. My husband will have an issue. And when you're married to a coach, somebody starts giving me an issue.
I'm so bad about this.
And my brain starts going, oh, how can I help? And so when he'll finish, I catch myself, I'll sit there and I'll be like, did you want an answer?
I'm so bad about that.
Were you just, or I'll be quiet and he'll say, I know you're dying to tell me what you think. Did you want to know what I think? You know, so, but I mean, I think that's a very fair way to do it. It sounds, very pragmatic, but I bet there's no confusion.
No.
You know what I mean? So it's not about what's right or wrong. Do what works in your relationship. And if that works for them, knock yourself out,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as a coach, and I don't even know if this is a coach thing or just the way, like, I operate, my biggest problem right now, like, on any date I get into or, like, anytime I'm with, like, in a courtship scenario, is I immediately take the conversation too deep.
I can see that.
I immediately go to, like, the psychology, the philosophy, or, like, okay, she said this, but that means she's thinking this, which really implies this, which means it started from here. So let's start. I'm like, just have a fun conversation.
Yeah.
Please. Like, everything does not have to be a philosophical talk about the meaning of life.
Well, I tell people all the time, I know it's hard to be my friend, because they'll come to me and they want to tell me something and I'll catch myself just not responding.
Right.
You're not going to say anything? Do you want me to say something?
Do you want to know what's all going on in here right now?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll get no, or they'll be like, is there a short answer?
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe
or if you're like me, you just ask more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably one of the worst things that ever happened was I was dating this girl, and it was like our third date. And she had this, like, great bubbly personality, but I could tell it was overcompensating for something. Like, I could tell that she was just being this way because something else was hurting her that she was overcompensating for. And we're like our third date, and I just started asking questions. I want to know the real reason why she acts like this. And it was honestly because I liked her, and I wanted this to go further, so I wanted to know the real her.
Yeah.
And I started asking her questions, and we were having dinner, and probably like 40 minutes into dinner, She looked at me and says, Robby, I'm not on your psychiatry couch right now. You have to stop. I was like, oh, that's bad. You're right. That's so bad. But like, I have a hard time turning off my intrinsic need to fix things.
Well, I'm always looking for the lesson because I believe there's a lesson in
is.
everything.
Well, there is.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm always looking for the lesson and filing it away so that I can regurgitate it for the next person. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's me. All right. So in wrapping up, question that I ask everyone, what is your definition of happiness?
Oh gosh. An inner peace. I learned a phrase this year that has just sat with me so beautifully, and but I live in a place of abiding joy. And I never really knew what that meant until I just kind of, I guess in layman's terms, I live in a Teflon bubble. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't mean that I'm indifferent. It just means that there's really nothing you can do that will take away my joy.
Yeah.
We can have a hurricane. That's all fine. I've been through one. I'll be fine. I can find the joy. I'll find the joy in someone's house that's still standing. I'll find the joy in someone's keepsake that washes up a mile down the road. There's just, people ask me all the time, what's the difference between contentment and complacency? Well, contentment's a place I want to be. It's just this genuine peace of knowing that no matter what comes, I'm going to be just fine.
That actually happened to me last night. So I love the fact you said that because it like really hit home with me last night. I'm driving back from New Orleans. It's about midnight. And I get all the way back from New Orleans. I'm literally in the home stretch about 2 miles from my house. And I have a blowout. My tire just completely blows out. Like it's not even flat. It's just blown out.
Wow.
And I pull over on the side of the road. It's 40 degrees. I'm in the mud. I'm in dress clothes. And I've got to change this tire. The old me would have completely went victim card.
Yes.
Why me? Why is this happening right now? It's midnight. It's cold. I don't feel like doing it. But I'm sitting there, I'm like, you know what? I'm okay. I didn't get in a wreck. Mm-hmm. I have money in my account to get a new tire tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nobody got hurt. Like, this is okay.
Yeah.
Just get out, change your tire, and keep going.
I'm fine.
Yeah. And like it hit me like the amount of growth that I've been able to like come upon the last few years of actually working on this is just exactly what you just said. Like, something happened, but I'm sitting here smiling. The cop pulled up, and I was like, "Hey, buddy, what's going on?" I was completely like, "Cool. Hey, I'm glad you're here because I'm not exactly in the best neighborhood right now, so I'm glad you're here."
Yeah.
But like, I was able to just like take it in stride and got out, changed my tire, got all muddy, but it was fine.
But that comes from knowing who you are.
It does.
Just like we said, all the way back to the basics. I know I'm okay because I know what I'm capable of. Mm-hmm. And if I don't know the answer, I've got the ability to find the answer.
All right, Dr. Google, he's out there.
Yeah.
Go find him.
I surround myself with people who have answers. So when you know who you are and you're just on that continual journey to learn more, do more, be more, share more, give more, I mean, it's just a win-win.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. All right, so where can people go and find out more about your coaching services, who you are? Where can people go to follow you?
Facebook is the key. I'll be honest, I've not expanded. I haven't had to yet. So find me on Facebook, Kim Gaughf. I just started a group, my first Facebook group.
Okay.
My tagline is move your feet because there is nothing that should hold you in place. If you've got the ability to move, then move. Mm-hmm. Take responsibility for your own life. So my group is Move Your Feet.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, guys, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Biohacked Life. Hope you got some value out of it, some little nuggets. I know I sure enjoyed this conversation talking about the fun topic of relationships. Once again, I'd like to thank our sponsor, Neolife Physical Therapy in Dyersville. Amazing guys with a great staff that can take care of all your physical therapy needs. Guys, don't forget to check out the store, Biohacked Life, RobbyD'Angelo.com. Click shop. Selling that merchandise. Got to support the podcast.
Absolutely, that's right.
And as always, to fully support the podcast, don't forget we have the charity Rise Up, my nonprofit work in schools on mental health. There is a link to it on the website. You can go and donate to that. We need some help. We're trying to make a difference there. But guys, that's it. Wrapping it up. Thank you so much. Love you guys. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, go love, serve, and change the world. Bye, guys.